My family and I have known for years that there are costs to standing up to Donald Trump, but we couldn't imagine ourselves living any other way. We will not live on our knees, and you shouldn't either. Somebody that I love dearly recently said that fear is the tool of a tyrant, and she's right. But I'm not afraid. My heart is broken for the Department of Justice, but I have great confidence in the federal judicial system, and I'm innocent. So let's have a trial.
That right there is, of course, the former FBI Director James Comey, back when career professionals headed up the FBI rather than like podcasters and children's book authors. But he is defiant in the face of the indictment, the continued weaponization of the U.S. government to go after Donald Trump's perceived enemies. And Donald Trump is very happy about this. Not a lot of other people are, but he seems to think it's great news and timely news, considering that just a couple of days ago, he either intentionally or accidentally ordered the head of the DOJ, Pam Bondi, one of his personal lawyers, to go after James Comey. You might recall this Truth Social message going out saying, Pam, I've reviewed over 30 statements and posts saying that essentially same old story as last time, all talk, no action. Nothing is being done. What about Comey, Adam Shifty Shift, Letitia? They're all guilty as hell, but nothing is going to be done. We can't delay any longer. It's killing our reputation and credibility. They impeached me twice and indicted me 5 times over nothing. Justice must be served. So he put that out, and in about the same time as it took the head of the FCC to get Jimmy Kimmel taken off the air, now Jim Comey is being indicted. And that was an amazing post. Not only that it seemed to be a DM that he accidentally tweeted, or maybe not, but just like, if you take him seriously there, what he's saying is he's reading posts, and that's all it takes for him to go after Jim Comey, because some people tweeted it, I guess. And also, our reputation and credibility are being destroyed because we haven't gone after a guy that hasn't had government power in like 6 years. And we're gonna go after him, as you'll see, for our perception that he might have lied in the least recognizable political scandal of our lifetimes. That's what his reputation is being destroyed over. Dude, I think it might be the Epstein files, actually. But this is a good distraction, at least for a few minutes, so let's jump into it. Comey has now been criminally charged with 2 felonies, giving false statements and obstruction of a congressional proceeding, and both are tied to a September 30th, 2020 testimony to the Senate Judiciary Committee. In that, he's being indicted for lying to Congress related to the FBI's Arctic haze leak investigation. And I don't need to remind you all about the Arctic haze leak investigation, because I don't remember any more of it than you probably do. What the hell is that? Literally, does anyone Arctic haze? Does that ring a bell?
Not.
I'm pretty sure that's a Mountain Dew flavor.
Yeah.
But no, apparently it's such a big scandal.
Chill.
Oh, that's Arctic Chill. I love that you know.
I think so. Yeah. I think they used to have that at 7-Eleven. If my memory serves right.
That's probably it. That's probably it. But yeah, obviously everybody for the past 5 years has been like, when are you gonna go after Comey for lying during Arctic haze? We don't have a country until you take down the big Arctic haze liar. So anyway, in that appearance, he testified that he had not authorized someone else to be an anonymous source in news reports, which the indictment is saying is false. It doesn't appear to be false. He evidently did not know about the person who ended up being the anonymous source until after he had stated that. And the way that lies work is that it depends on when it happens, whether it's true or not. So anyway, the stakes are high. He could face 5 years in prison for this. And Trump is very excited. He posted "Justice in America." The 34-time felon is now worried about justice in America, taking down Jim Comey, blah, blah, make America great, blah, blah, whatever. And before we jump into our conversation about this, it should be clear that Jim Comey is just the first of many enemies of Donald Trump, living rent-free in his head that he apparently plans to go after, as he makes clear in this video.
Now that James Comey has been indicted, who is the next president? It's not a list, but I think there'll be others. I mean, they're corrupt. These were corrupt, radical left Democrats. Was Comey essentially was worse than the Democrats. I would say the Democrats are better than Comey. But no, there'll be others. Look, that's my opinion. They weaponized the Justice Department like nobody in history. What they've done is terrible. And so I hope they're honest. You can't let this happen to a country.
Yeah, he's worried about the weaponization of the DOJ. That's why he's ordering on True Social the head of the DOJ to go after his enemies. Also, dude, you can't say it's not a list. We just showed it. You said Comey, Adam, Shifty Schiff, Letitia. You put it in list form. It's definitely a list. Anyway, we have a lot more on this, but Ramesh, I'm gonna go to you first. What do you think about this? It seems pretty unprecedented.
Well, it's like I'm only laughing occasionally because I'm crying inside, but it's also just ultimately something has really set in. I think the last time I was on with y'all was a few months ago. And over these last few months, we've seen systematic and effective attacks against pretty much every aspect of our democracy, right? So part of it, on every level, it's been also about instilling fear within us all, right? It's not so much the possibility that all of us at UCLA, for example, could be on a list sent to the administration. Well, it is that possibility. It's just, even though we know only a few people's names may be sent to the administration, right? So systematically, we're seeing these attacks. I woke up this morning, pretty sober way to wake up, to listening to Chris Hedges, the New York Times Pulitzer Prize winner, former New York Times journalist, breaking it down. And he basically said it starts with, attacks on the media, attacks on public institutions, and then it goes to attacks on political opponents. So I think what we're seeing is the administration testing out the reach of its powers, and it seems to have incredibly far-reaching powers. Merely sort of stating various things on social media can create great amounts of action. So we're seeing that. We're seeing a vindictive president who we knew was vindictive, but somehow a significant part of the population isn't willing to really check his power on this. And we have to ask questions about how we even begin to check power. But what is effectively done here is a destruction of any faith in institutions, including the FBI, that many of us progressives are extremely critical and concerned about, right? Because now, no matter how you take it, whether you're supportive of Comey or supportive of the president, or maybe just alienated from the whole process, you question the institutions of justice now. So the big question is how do we push back, and how do we stop this train that's wrecking this country and what's left of our democracy?
I'm interested to see how this all ends up playing out because, I, like you guys, share the concern that Trump is essentially using the DOJ as his personal petty patrol, where if he had a past issue with you, no matter how petty, serious, or otherwise it is, he's gonna use the DOJ for recriminations. I do want to say, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know about you guys, but I look at James Comey as a bit of a clown. He's done a lot to try to insert himself into the public discourse over the last almost 10 years, starting with the nonsense he did during the Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump race, where he dropped the big, the email server and all of that ridiculousness that he did, which I felt like was just to make himself a public spectacle and insert himself into quote unquote history. And then I think his fatal mistake was that he did try to weaponize the FBI against Donald Trump. And, some people might say that's justified, which cool. However, now that this guy is in power, he's bucking back on you. And what we're not gonna do is actually talk about the details of this prosecution, because we know it's a show trial, it's BS. There's really nothing to it. Trump's own DOJ prosecutor quit and Trump appointed this person, and they're like, you're not gonna take this to trial and actually win. And now he's got an insurance lawyer prosecuting this thing against Comey. I'm just really interested to see how it goes, because there's really no there. So I don't think Trump's gonna actually get this guy to jail for 6 months. But the federal government coming after you with their unlimited resources, man, to defend yourself, even as frivolous as these charges are, it's kind of scary. Not even kind of, it's very scary.
Yeah, they could spend as much as they want. The only resource they don't appear to have is like expertise or talent in the legal field. They've got, it's basically just like, it seems crazy to me that like Merrick Garland waited 35 years to investigate Trump for crimes that were committed in the public eye. And people still said that Biden was directing it, even though there's never been any evidence that they even spoke about it. Meanwhile, Donald Trump hires 2 of his former lawyers, one to be the head of the DOJ and one to replace the guy who said we got nothing on Comey. They immediately go after Comey. And that's just cool. And he gets to scream about how we're getting justice right now. It was revealed just a couple days ago that Kash Patel and Pam Bondi are like that whole Tom Homan thing where someone handed him a sack of $50,000. Yeah, we're not going to investigate that. It doesn't matter. It's our guy. But we're supposed to believe that there's justice. Meanwhile, he's covering up the Epstein files. He won't even meet with the survivors of the sexual predations of his longtime best friend. And we're supposed to believe that he's concerned about justice. It's like the FBI is a shadow of its former self. The DOJ is like, it's a dark mockery of what it used to be. This is a pathetic place that America has found itself in. Ramesh, you want to say something?
Well, from the start, John and Waz, it's been like doubling down on how brazen you can be, right? You know, like I could kill someone right outside on Fifth Avenue and get away with it. I paid off all of you. I remember that very famously, which gave me a little bit of like perverse delight when he said that, when Trump said that back 2016 era. He said that to all the other Republicans. I own you, I own you, I own you, right? So basically, the recipe has been outrage at the seeds of corruption that are part of any elite system of power, including ones that are run by corporatist Democrats for sure, which are they cherry pick how they prosecute and who they prosecute. We all know that well, right? Poor people of color, et cetera, always targets, right? But at the same time, then double down and be super brazen and shameless as a claim of being vindictive on the opposite. I think that's the strategy that I've been seeing. And then the other pattern is just test the waters by doing the testing of the waters, someone like Comey, who, none of us really care that much for, but it's to set a precedent or set an example, roll the troops into LA so other places can be scared. Because it's not so much of the enactment of fascist authoritarianism. It's not the actual actions of it. It's the ways in which it instills fear by setting precedents, right? And that's what I'm seeing going on here. Yeah. And that's what is totally like scaring the heck out of me.
Yeah, look, the invasion of DC is terrible. My fear is that it's just designed to, over the course of the next 12 months, everybody gets used to it. And when they invade a bunch of cities before the election, it just seems like, well, yeah, that's the thing that he does. And they're going after Comey right now. As you said, Comey doesn't have a massive fan base or whatever. But Tulsi Gabbard likes to pop her head up once a month and say, we're going to take down Obama. Like they clearly have higher targets that they want to. Trump has salivated over putting Hillary Clinton in prison for the better part of a decade right now. And so as dark as today is, the future, remember, like Donald Trump got us to this point in less than 1 year, but he is still likely to be president for several years. He's going to fill that time with something. I'm sure that people like Stephen Miller, Tom Homan, those sorts of people can come up with some terrible further steps to take.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.